Hi, I'm Tina Wiles, and welcome to this episode of the Assessment Alchemist Podcast. And today I'm going to be talking about from panic to passing, and how one framework works for any high stakes exam. So let me kind of set the stage here. Um, an individual has been going to school to be able to become a nurse. And they've taken all the prerequisites for nursing, and now they need to get admitted into the nursing school. And they have to take the TEAS exam, TEAS exam, to get in. Um, so they study, they do practice, they go take the test, they fail. They go back to the drawing board, do some more practice. But when you go in to take the exam the second time, it's already harder to pass than it was the first time. And it's because now you know you failed the first time. Okay. So then take it again, fail. So this this pattern can repeat where like you might have to take the exam 3 or 4 times in order to be able to pass or to get the competitive score that you want. Um, and this happens far more often than people talk about because in our um, Instagram worthy, Facebook friendly society where we want to be sharing things that are going well, very few people talk about when they fail. And it's happening all the time. So often, in fact, that the passing rates for high stakes exams, so think professional licensure, so like getting certified, um, like the national board exam for funeral directors or embalmers, or licensing and nursing exams and national board exams like the bar for lawyers, right? People like hairstylists, right? Cosmetologists need to take an exam, police, fire, right? Like every profession, banking, realtors, right? All over the place, right? So notoriously, the passing rates for those high stakes exams are 40 to 60%. Okay. That's their passing rates. That unfortunately means that's also the fail rate, right? So it's 40 to 60% of people fail the exam. Okay. That is huge and very rarely talked about. Okay. So, um, I have worked for over 20 years with individuals and organizations dealing with these high stakes exams. So, whether they're licensure, certification, or school admission exams. And in all this experience, what I have found is that content on the exam is almost never the issue in why people fail. Okay. So that's how I came up with this framework for from panic to passing. So basically, it's a performance problem, not a knowledge problem. Okay. So I've shared this story before. I'll share it again, and now I actually have the quote in front of me. So Michael Jordan, who I think is the GOAT, simply because I grew up in Chicago during the Bulls dynasty. So I'm a little biased. But I think Michael Jordan said, here's his quote: I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game winning shot and missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. Okay, so you don't hear about the misses. We only see the highlight reels of when that game winning shot is made. Or especially right now is March Madness going on, right? So all like you don't need a lot of the games you don't even need to watch till the last minute. um, right. So basically the only seeing the highlight reel is the same thing is true for everyone quietly struggling to pass a high stakes exam. Okay. So there's two pillars that I'm going to talk about for from panic to passing, and it's mindset and strategy. Okay, so um, what I mean by mindset. Okay, so your mindset matters when it comes to testing. You can fail your test before you even walk in to take it. Okay. And it's because test anxiety is controlled by our thoughts, and we actually have the power to change those thoughts. So, again, I've talked about fight, or fleas, fight, flight, or freeze before, and the what goes on in our nervous systems, right? It's our body's response to stress. It's our body's way of protecting us from dangerous situations. And these stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, flood your body. And our brain literally shifts from I'm doing what I need to do to I'm making sure that we're alive. Okay. Um, the problem is we're not in a life or death situation when you're taking the exam, and we need to be able to turn down those thoughts and those hormones to be able to access knowledge that we know. Okay. So you cannot start we can't think, okay, I'm safe. I need to go out of this mode, right? It's just our body's natural reaction. So, but there's a couple things that we could do when you're in it or when you don't even realize you're experiencing it to try to be able to get your mindset straight so that you could pass that exam. Okay, so trusting your instinct is the first thing. Okay, and there is some science behind this too. So your gut is lined with more than 1 million nerve cells. Okay, more than the spinal cord and or the peripheral nervous system. So about 90% of the fibers in our vagus nerve carry information from our gut to our brain. So basically our gut is literally sending information to our brain. And when I talk about the vagus nerve, activating that vagus nerve is the fastest way to signal to your body that you are safe and that you can go out of fight or flight mode. All right. So basically understanding how to trust your instinct and to be able to like activate that vagus nerve is the single most important thing you can do for passing that test. Okay. Next up is silencing your inner critic. Okay. And especially if you failed before, this is so important, right? So it's when your negative thoughts are outpacing your positive ones, or when you're sitting down to take your exam and you're already planning when you're going to take it again because you know you're not going to pass it, right? Those thoughts, um, think about it this way. Like if you the first time you learn to drive a car, like literally sitting in the car and the you're like, okay, the gas pedal is the vertical pedal on the right, brake is on the left, right? Like that kind of time. You didn't have the radio on, okay? And why did you not have the radio on? It's because it's distracting. And when you're in the mode, or I don't know if you're one of the people that like when you're like getting somewhere close or you're trying to pay attention, like you'll turn the sound down on the radio to be able to focus more, right? So basically, we're turning the sound down, and that's literally what we need to do when you're taking a test. You need to turn the sound down on that critic because if you have that going in the background and I'm going to fail and or even like I need to go fast, I'm not keeping up with time, right? All those thoughts, you can't focus on what's in front of you. Okay? So there are things that you could do to silence those thoughts, right? And that is another part of the making sure that we can get that mindset in check. And then the last thing is to control our reaction to pressure. And I think this is mental performance, right? That we can perform on an actual exam the way that we are when we're doing practice. And so this is the Michael Jordan quote in real life, right? Like the reason that typically when an athlete is in a situation that they do have all that pressure on them, they are not making that game-winning shot, right? Like that's the abnormal event, right? Usually they're missing. And high stakes exams can create that same pressure. And that's why I'm actually certified a mental performance certification from the Brian Cain program. And it's because I think that there's a lot of correlation between athletes in those pressure moments and what test takers experience when you're trying to demonstrate the knowledge that you know on an exam that you know can change your life. All right. So that's those three things. So trusting your instinct, silencing your inner critic, and then being able to control your pressure are three of the keys to getting that mindset in check. The second pillar is strategy. Okay. And um, the strategy is like how to take tests. Okay. And one of the ways that you can help to begin with, before you even sit down to take the test, is to build a game plan. Okay. And you can have a game plan for how you're preparing for the exam, but don't forget to have a game plan for when you're actually sitting there taking the test. Okay. And things that would come into play for your game plan would be what am I going to do when I get to a hard question? How am I going to use my answer choices? How am I going to approach each question? How am I going to use the tools and the software to help me as I'm going through the test? Um, how many questions do I actually need to get correct? And what's the breakdown of the types of questions that appear on the test, right? All of these are part of the strategy of being able to pass an exam. Um, for if you feel like you're a procrastinator, I just want you to realize that um, avoiding studying or putting a plan together, a lot of times people will say like that's why you're struggling and that's what causes the test anxiety, and it actually could be the opposite, and that because you have test anxiety, you're having a hard time getting started. And so even just taking small steps of like, I'm going to create an environment where I'm going to sit and study and it makes me happy. Um, I'm going to have a certain, like, I don't know, essential oil or room spray that you use. This is like, when I smell this smell, that means I'm getting in my mode to study, right? So that stuff can help if you feel like you're a procrastinator. Okay, during the test, so talked about strategies for the test. Now, we need to be able to focus. Okay, and um, there are many reasons we struggle to focus, and sometimes it's even just your exam is 6 hours long. Even if it's 2 hours long, it's impossible to physically focus for those 2 hours. And so there are things we could do to help you stay in the present moment, but also incorporating like mini breaks in while you're taking a test that can help with focus and endurance of being able to increase how long you're able to focus for. All right, and then the last part of strategy comes to managing your time. And timing, if timing's an issue for you on a test, you know it's an issue, right? So especially if you're running out of time. Okay. There are cases where you don't think time is an issue because you can fly through the test and you have all this extra time, right? So timing's not an issue. That could also be due to not reading questions carefully enough. Okay, so it's going too fast almost. So, but basically knowing how to pace yourself sometimes is just as important as the content. So, bottom line. Oh, and so for just a quick summary. So for strategy, we talked about game plan, focus your attention, and then being able to manage your time. Okay. So bottom line is that failing a high stakes exam is painful. It's hard, but you are definitely not alone. And failing the exam is rarely the story behind what's going on with the test. So, like I said, content is not usually um, the issue. You know what the material, you know what you need to know. But what you might be lacking is the framework for how to perform under pressure. And that's where you can learn because those are skills. And that means that you can not only learn and improve, but that it can be the difference between you failing and passing. So these are learnable skills, and it's what From Panic to Passing was built to do. So if you are like trying to figure out what's getting in your way, I have a mindset quiz that you could take. I'll make sure the link is in the show notes. And yeah, I look forward to please reach out with any questions you have and or any other things, aspects of the test that you would like to learn about. And thanks for joining me today.